Do we have any further Gundam talk that we want to do at the moment? Because if not, I have a related challenge, and then we can find something other of interest to more people in the room.
Hit me up with that related challenge, my guy.
So, it says here, could the Gundam or Mecha fans in the room please recommend some good starter anime in the genre? I watch a lot of anime, but have never dipped my toes into Gundam/Mecha anime, and was wondering if you have a good recommendation for where to start. And I do, but I'm going to throw to everybody in the room first.
Okay, so, like, here's the Earth.
That's a pretty sweet Earth, you might say.
Mecha as a whole thing doesn't necessarily like land you in any specific storytelling because it's just giant robots. There's different kinds of mecha.
Yeah, like Big O and Evangelion, even though they're basically about giant people pilot giant robots, there's nothing really similar between them.
You got your super robot, you've got your real robot.
Like a show that heavily features mechas that is a little bit different than other things is Code Geass, that I think is quite good.
Oh.
It's a classic one. Its themes are quite good, as well as mimetic. If you've ever been Jabun Woad, you know what I'm talking about. In Gundam itself, Wit for Mercury requires zero prior knowledge and is the newest show. I haven't even seen the second season, so no spoilers, please. If you want something smaller that you can kind of watch, if you appreciate that you're not going to get everything that's going on, the short OVA 8th MS team is a very real Gundam story. It actually hits the themes better than most Gundam shows.
You don't really need to know anything about the rest of Gundam stuff. It's just a really great, relatively self-contained, good story.
Yeah, with 08th MS team, all you need to know is that it's taking place as a side story of the main continuity.
But you don't even need to know what that continuity really is.
No, you just need to know that it's a side story.
There's a war going on, and you're kind of thrown into a part of it, and here you go.
Yeah.
The way I had that one particularly recommended to me, because that was also my first Gundam series that I watched, is that it's a Gundam series that kind of has a little bit of everything in it. So if there's something about that series that sticks out to you that you like more than sort of the other bits, there's a series that does that as its focus.
Yeah.
So like the Star-Crossed Lovers thing, or the giant super robots, or the really gritty ground stuff. Like there's all series that go deep on this, but this is like a good overview of all the different things Gundam can be.
Mm-hmm. And the problem I had with that show is there wasn't enough slapping. Which I think is really big, important part of Gundam series.
It's true. Until Amuro takes a slap across the face.
It is an important part of early Gundam.
It's all the early stuff. There's just so much slapping, and you're just like, and like at first you're like, it feels very misogynistically focused, right? Like there's like a lot, but then it's just like. Just slapping kids, slapping adults. It's just slapping.
Yeah.
Like everyone gets slapped. There's a lot of slapping.
You've never seen the slap.
It turns out that Bright Noah just not actually a very good disciplinarian.
He disciplines through fear of his backhand and forehand.
This show slaps.
Yeah, it does. It slaps so hard. It leaves a mark.
It's very weird that the lieutenant who got forced into like going into command of a whole crew might not know what he's ready for. But yeah, outside of Gundam, there's also things like Escaflowne, which is a classic, technically mecha anime. That is a fantasy-based one. You could argue it's an isekai. They go back.
Gundam,
Yep.
it's too dark to see the anime.
Oh my god.
Did you break?
No,
just opening the bag. We didn't open all the bags at once, so Chad has periodically been getting a crinkle.
I did break a sprue.
That's what.
Oh, fancy.
It'll be fine.
Just a sprue. It's fine. I only broke the sprue part of the sprue.
Yeah, sprue doesn't matter.
That's all good. So I'm also gonna double up on. I think Witch for Mercury is the most accessible.
It's fantastic and queer and smart and funny and goofy and sad and terrifying. Like it's got a lot of stuff.
It's really good, but as Gundam series go, easily the most accessible.
It does spend a lot of political stuff about corporations, especially at the beginning. You're just like.
Capitalism is hell.
Yeah, but like I'm okay with the message, but just like also just like they spend a lot of time on it, and it's just like no, have the girls hold hands. That's all I want.
You can play phone games during that first little bit, and then it's fine.
Yeah, but being a modern animation, you don't have to deal with. I mean, this person said they watch lots of anime, so I'm sure that's not a big problem. You don't have to worry about like dealing with going back in time and,
yeah,
and adjusting your expectations. Graham, you look like you're having a concern.
No, I have reached the end of the part that you've delineated as what I am allowed to do.
Okay, cool. We'll call you back in later.
Okay.
Oh, it was
Tag
the
out.
balls?
Yeah, I had to make a head and some balls.
Good
Alright.
job.
Excellent.
Way
Thank
to
you.
make that stuff.
Thanks for making the balls.
It's important when you're making the head.
I also am fully, not as a joke, gonna recommend Evangelion
Yeah,
as a
no,
starter
it's
anime.
great.
Um,
Especially the original TV series and
Yes.
not necessarily the movies.
Especially the original TV series and End of Evangelion, the movie.
The movie remake does a relatively interesting job of like encapsulating the show into like very expensive looking movies, but it just
In the same way as Final Fantasy VII Remake is in conversation with Final Fantasy VII.
yeah. You
The-
can't watch it by itself.
Well, you can,
You shouldn't.
but you're gonna be missing a lot of what it's actually doing if you do.
I think Evangelion is one of those shows that people can watch and be interested and enjoy without being engaged
Enjoy.
in the, yeah the huge metatextual stuff of what the creator was talking about, his push and pull with the fans, right? Like,
Yeah.
like there's so much in there that you can dig into about like the fact that he was like actively trying to make something that he thought fans would not like, and then they latched onto the thing.
And then he kept being like, "No, stop liking this."
Yeah, it's such a weird like it's such a weird and yeah, and of course lots of problems, and then obviously tax problems they run.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of things around that you don't need to know and still enjoy the show, but it also does do that like late 90s, early 2000s anime thing where it's just like sometimes it feels inscrutable, but in a funny way.
But Evangelion was my first mecha anime. I feel like there's a strata of nerd who got into anime because their local video store had one copy of one VHS tape that contained 3 episodes from the middle of
Video store.
We had
This is like anime club at the college.
well, fair enough. I mean, my experience of this was like renting that 3 episode, like episodes 16, 17, and 18 of Evangelion is my first experience, and being like, this is amazing. I need to go watch it. And then you go watch it, and it crushes your soul. So just, heads up, it is a show about mental health and on a metaphorical level, and it uses giant robots to tell that story. It is not a happy tale, but it is dope.
When I was first watching it, a friend had like brought over the copies for us, and a new friend came in right at the end, and we were trying to like keep them up to speed. It's like, okay, so Gendo, he's the dad, and he's doing this, and we don't really know what's behind in his motivations, but we're sure we're gonna figure that out in the last episode. And like every part of it was like we pause it and say, but we don't know what this is, but we know this is gonna be, and then it just ends because my friend forgot about the end of Evangelion and just told us that was the end of the show.
Right.
And we were just like, the show ends, and it's just like the entire last episode is just
The last 2 episodes.
the last 2 episodes is just like metaphysical art goofiness, and
Well,
you're just
yeah,
like,
it's like
it's
very
beautiful and
avant-garde.
interesting, but it like explained nothing at all, and then it just ended, and my friend was just like, what? He was so mad at us that we were mad too, and then like half an hour later my friend's like, oh yeah, there's this other thing too, and he went home and got it.
I did recently find, speaking of like the original watching experience, I did recently find my original burned CD copy with Ava 1 through 12 scrolled on the top.
Oh yeah.
That I'm like tempted to frame, to be honest, because it's such a sort of moment in time.
Cool. Well, I'm going to mark that as accepted, unless anybody else has a mecha anime recommendation.
Those are all good ones.
Birdie Wing. They build Gundams in it. That makes it mecha, right?
Yeah.
What's the one where they all turn into trains and then fight?
Starlight Express?
Yeah.
Honkai Star Rail? I don't know.
Thomas the Tank Engine?
Oh, I'm so glad I didn't take a drink.
There was a Transformers Japanese only train based series at one point.
Huh?
Oh.
It got like 10 episodes or something.
Yeah, I don't know. Full Metal Panic is another one we could have.
Oh, yeah, Full Metal
Oh,
Panic.
yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I actually got a 3rd season semi recently.
Really?
Huh.
Yeah.
That's a show I haven't thought about in a while.
It's got a lot of good gags in it. Some of them have not aged well because let's be real,
Can imagine.
anime in the 90s and early 2000s, but still has a solid premise. Also, the Pat Labor movies are great.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't seen the TV shows, so I can't recommend those without knowing them. But the
movies.
The movies are great. Characters are very cool.
I feel like that's something that if Ian heard that, he would run down the hallway and just
I
yell
half
at the
expect to just hear
Burst
boom,
in the
boom,
door.
boom, kicks open door, even though it opens out that way. Pat Labor.
That would be bad. If we hear like thump, 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 and then the door just goes boom
This way.
through shot.
Pat Labor!
Turns out that that's all we needed for Ian to go Ultra Instinct. It's a My Hero Academia joke for everybody.
Haha.